What's going on, y'all? It's another random topic video. And I did this video because I know right now there's a lot of political unrest. There's a lot of confusion going on here, especially with this whole NFL and, Colin Kaepernick situation. It seems like not too many people really understand the political process and exactly how that goes about. And so we see people protesting and, that's all well and good. You got to look to why people protest in the first place. And I would have to think that, as black people, we would be looking back to like the civil rights era, but we have to ask ourselves, why were they protesting? They were protesting because they had no political power. They didn't have the right to vote for the president, the mayor, the senator, nobody. That's what they were fighting for, because voting is power. If you have the right to vote, you have power. You have the right, you have a voice. Your town, your city, your country, your state. Reverse the last two. Yeah, so that's why they were voting. So you have to ask yourself, in today's day, do we have the right to vote? Yes, we do. Instead of using our power to vote, people are kneeling down in a football game or speaking out. And it's like, again, it's all well and good, but there's a better way. There's a better and more effective way to handle that. It starts at your local elections, because you have to ask yourself, if we feel like the police are, or not all police, but if certain police officers have gone rogue and are just out here shooting people and not having to deal with it. First of all, let's look at the police. Who do the police have to answer to? They have to answer to their superior, the captain and majors and all that. Well, who do their superiors have to answer to? Ultimately, the chief of police. Who does the chief of police have to answer to? The mayor. Who does the mayor have to answer to? The people, because the people who elect them and keep them in office. So if we feel as if nothing's being done from in the police department, we can hold the mayor accountable. And if the mayor doesn't address it in a manner that we feel is fair or just, the election is only 2 years. It's not like the presidential election. You got to wait 4 years. It's only 2 years. Constantly on the hot seat. He or she is constantly on the hot seat. That's what we need to start doing. We need to just pay more attention to these local elections. Because if the mayor's job is on the hot seat because the people are putting pressure on him, he's going to put pressure on the chief of police. And if his job is on the hot seat, he's going to put pressure on the ranking officers at the police station. And then they're going to put pressure on those police officers who was out there not respecting the badge and not respecting the people. Because unfortunately, sometimes as human beings, we have to be threatened in order for us to understand that it's not a game out here. And if there's no threat coming, people aren't handling things in the proper manner. And when I say proper, I just mean effective. Because you can nail in a football game, but the NFL doesn't control the police department. The NFL doesn't control anything outside the NFL. So it's like, what is really kneeling doing but bringing attention to yourself? And I'm sure his heart is in the right place. So shout out to Colin Kaepernick. I mean, no disrespect, but again, there's just better ways to handle it. We don't have to protest anymore, especially when these things can be handled with our voting power. That's why when you look at the again, back to the political process, power starts on the bottom and it goes up. The people vote for the city aldermen, the mayor, the senators, the governors. Those people, especially the senators and all the people that's in the assembly and all the local forms of government, people vote for all of them. And those people turn around and get electoral votes, vote for the president, along with the popular vote. So even though the people themselves don't get electoral votes, we vote for the people who get electoral votes. So either way you want to look at it, it's up to the people. People get so caught up in the show, especially in America. The presidential election is nothing but a big show. Our pop culture, that's why Donald Trump is the perfect candidate for president. Everyone's into reality shows right now. So what do? They take a reality star, make him the president, and people are so focused on him, they're not paying attention to their local election. The federal election, I mean, come on now. That's not really what's affecting your everyday life. And I know when people vote, when they vote for somebody, they want that person to do things that's going to affect their everyday life. And if that's the case, you need to pay attention to your local elections. The federal election, that's things that affect us on a whole, but as far as your everyday life, the potholes you want to see fixed, just certain taxes that, not excluding the income tax that you feel is unnecessary. Your local elections is where you use your voice. And, people paying so much attention to the reality show, it makes the local election seem insignificant because there's not the big show to go along with it. They don't have it just doesn't get the same kind of attention because, everyone feels as if, what goes on in these little towns and cities and states is just, it doesn't matter because there's not millions of dollars being pumped into it like these presidential elections. I mean, if the last election didn't teach you anything, it's like it was all just a show. It was all BS to me. The founding fathers, they set up this system of that where the people, it's to protect the people away from tyranny by giving them the power, but also at the same time, they understood that the people, they're not particularly interested in politics that much. The people have the power indirectly. That's where the whole electoral process comes about, where we vote for the people who, run the government. I mean, again, look what's going on right now. People, we're protesting when we should be voting. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about. And then you look in the media, they got all this misinformation. You got all these so-called political pundits. Nobody's keeping it real. No one's just telling people, look, we already have the power to change everything we want to change. People who are really know politics are laughing at us. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just talking, and the media is eating it up. They print all these sensationalist stories to get more eyeballs on their outlets, and I'm sure it's doing them wonders, but it's harmful to the rest of us because people are really looking for information. Nobody's giving it to them. Again, we have the power already, especially, again, black people from the civil rights era. We got our rights to vote, and we need to exercise that as opposed to, making spectacles of ourselves. I don't know how this is going to end for Colin. I wish him the best. As far as, forget Trump and what's going on in the White House. Look in your local election. Because again, if it even leads back to the presidential election, local elections affect the presidential elections. Because who do you think the president comes to when, they're on the campaign trail and they got to go to all these different states? They meet with our elected leaders. And if we have our elected leaders on a hot seat, because their elections come up every 2 years, they're not going to support a certain presidential candidate. The people don't support that candidate. And we're keeping them honest, keeping them on a hot seat. It's like, hey, look, Mr. President, I'm sorry, the people just don't like you. And if I give you my vote, I won't be in office the next time around. So I won't be able to help you at all. It's going to be somebody completely different. Local politics, I'd say, is more important than the federal and all other levels of politics. But nobody talks about local politics because it's not sexy enough. Go figure. This is the America we live in. People want to see a show. And I get it, but sometimes the flashiest thing doesn't have the most substance. So anyway, just my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Holla at your boy. Peace.